I've got a fire going. I don't know, it's about 8-9 degrees in the sun in Sweden. Early spring. There's still ice on the lake though, but pretty beautiful day, I gotta say. I got a request from a viewer. He wanted me to speak about what it's like to awaken, in the sense of, does the person awaken? Does Kimmen awaken? Did Kimmen awaken? Or did Kimmen disappear for awareness to be able to recognize itself? For awakeness to recognize itself? And I would describe that as, you've probably heard that there's no person that ever awakens. The one that I used to identify with all the visions and goals and beliefs about myself, limiting beliefs, habits, tendencies, beliefs about what happiness would be like, all of that belonged to the person, all of that belonged to what I previously was identified with, what I previously thought Kimmen was. So, to answer the question in a very concise way, no, Kimmen did not have to disappear for awareness to recognize itself. Kimmen is still here. This is me speaking. But Kimmen, what I previously was identified and labeled as Kimmen, had to be seen as just a fraction of what experience actually is. So, before awakening happened, I believed that I was separate from experience itself, that I was inside this experience somehow, and that there was an inner experience that I thought Kimmen was. And my inner experience would probably be something like my thoughts and my feelings, something like that. And the outer experience would be what I hear, and like, even my hand was part of the outer experience, because it was sort of on the outside of my seeming inner world. And so, when awakening happened, I started glimpsing just something outside of what I typically would label as myself back then. Something outside of the mind, something outside of Kimmen. And that was very peaceful, that was very serene, still, very pleasant. And it would take a long time before that sort of stillness would start to sort of establish and settle and become the new identity, if you will, even though it's free from identity, it's free from perspectives, views, free from anything like that. It would take some time for me to learn to identify with that which is unidentifiable, unbound, free. And so, like I said before, I thought I was this separate entity, separate from the experience, the outer experience, stuck in an inner world. And as awakening happened more, I realized, oh, this is actually all of me. So what I typically thought of as Kimmen, myself, is just something that happens inside the entire experience. And so the entire experience, the entire experience was something I thought of as separate from me. And then as awakening happened more, I realized that it's actually me, and then the thing that I had been identified with, the separate self, the ego, the Kimmen identity, is just a sort of collection of memories and thoughts and tendencies and habits and feelings and sensations in the body and in the mind that has happened inside the fullness of experience that I had been identified with. And so that person, that thing, that idea, that contraction in the nervous system, no, that doesn't wake up. What happens is that all of that sort of identity structure, that person, is being seen by something. It's being observed by something. And it's not being observed by anyone. It's not being observed by a self. Because, and this is very difficult to speak about because words are also concepts. Words are also thoughts. So it's very difficult to put into words. But now when I think about or feel into my true self, my true nature, I am all of this. I am the entire experience. I am everything I hear. I am also the space inside where sound travels. I am everything I see. And I'm also the space in between the one that is looking and that which is being looked at. I am all of this. I am the entire experience. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, all of that. What I see, what I hear, what I taste, what I smell. I am all of that, but I'm also somehow nothing of that which comes and goes. So sound comes and goes, thoughts come and go, feelings come and go. It all happens here for something to observe it. It's being something is being aware of all of it. But it's not my true nature, because my true nature is always here. My true nature is always that which is always present. Doesn't flicker, doesn't come and go, always still, always present. And it's the entirety of everything. It's like this spaciousness. So before I thought I was just a fraction of my experience. I thought I was a collection of my memories and feelings, and I thought that I was this narration in my mind speaking all the time. And now now all of that is happening inside of me, you could say. And so Kimmen, the person, is seen as just another thing that is coming and going. I'm not a fixed self anymore. Before I thought I was a fixed self, that I was this person, that I was this identity. And what I referred to when I thought about myself as a fixed solid self was just memories and sensations in the nervous system and feelings and thoughts that I had sort of thought of and felt so frequently that I thought that this is who I am. But like I said, those things are just coming and going experiences or phenomena, arising phenomena inside the wholeness of experience, which has nothing to do with me. So, no, Kimmen did not awaken. Awakeness started recognizing itself, and then it took some time for that to realize that that is the real self, if you will, capital S. And no, Kimmen didn't have to disappear, but the personality traits, the feelings, the sensations, the thoughts, and everything that had been accompanying that had to be allowed to be seen for enough time for disidentification for that, or from that, would be possible. And then how I was able to sort of see through that was that I started investigating the 5 aggregates that the Buddha speaks of. I started investigating that, and I started looking for myself in the entire experience. I started looking for myself in sound out here. Is there a solid fixed self out here somewhere? And I started looking, and I was like, no, I can't find myself in this experience. Okay, can I find myself in any thought? No, I couldn't find myself in any thought. And I couldn't find myself in any feeling either. And I started looking very closely, deep into my own experience for myself, and I couldn't find myself anywhere. And that's when the sort of realization of this started deepening even more. And it's so fascinating because what we typically label as ourselves is just a collection of things in here, in experience, feelings, contractions, sensations, expansive emotions, thoughts, memories, all of these things come together in such a way that it creates an illusion of a fixed self. And so we overlook everything that is always here. We overlook sound. It's like if we walk around and fixate in the mind and believe that we are this character, this person, we're not really here. We're not really hearing what is happening. We're not really seeing what is happening in our immediate experience. We're just sort of fixated on this idea, fixated inside the mind, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, what we need to be happy, how we can sort of get rid of this sense that something is missing from our life. But the problem is that this thing in us that feels like it's missing something is missing something because it's literally sort of cut off. It's cutting itself off from the entirety of the rest of experience, which is really everything. So it's not about getting rid of the person or getting rid of any thought or any feeling or any personality trait or anything like that. It's just seeing that that is also something that is able to be observed, just like sound, just like sights, smells, you know, all of that which our senses are picking up too. And so when that is seen clearly enough, we can recognize that I'm not just these thoughts or these feelings. They are as valid as what I hear, as what I see, as the spaciousness that is always here, as the emptiness that seems to be looking at everything. All of this makes up the entirety of experience, and I am all of that. So it feels like if this was my self, my previous self, and this would be the outer world, the experience happening here, previously I would have thought that I was this thing inside experience. And now I feel like I am the entire experience with Kimmen happening inside it. So before I was this, and this was the outer world, and now I feel like I am this, and this is just Kimmen in here, inside everything. But there is no inside or outside. That's the interesting paradox. And I've been sitting a lot of hours, I've been doing a lot of practices, I've been doing a lot of self-inquiry. Who am I? Asking these things. What is this? What is it that is aware? I've been meditating a lot, but lately I've only sort of gone into shikantasa, which is natural meditation, just allowing attention to come and go, to go wherever it wants to go. If attention wants to go into the mind, I just let it. If attention wants to go to a sound, I let it. And when that happens, we can sort of learn to let go of attention. And then the letting go, the relaxation of the fixation of attention, the letting go of being fixated inside attention is a really beautiful sort of way to learn to let go. And when that happens, we learn to realize that instead of me believing that I am attention moving here, I realize that I am the empty space in which attention moves freely. That's the big difference, I think. Attention is able to move freely. So I am not the fixed sort of thing where attention goes. I am the entire space where attention moves. And attention. And when that is seen, when we can learn to sort of identify ourselves with the empty space, the emptiness of everything, it becomes easier to see that everything is coming and going. And when we see that everything is coming and going, we can sort of quite easily learn to detach and disidentify from it, because that means that if it can come and then go, something remains that is untouched by it. And I am that which remains. And that space was here before the person even started identifying with being a person. Before any sound even appears. That space was never born. That space can never die. And it's everywhere. And we are all that. We are not these separate characters inside experience. We are experience where these separate sort of characters happens inside. So we can learn to see that, and when we learn to see that, suffering decreases significantly, because suffering sits in the belief that I am separate from experience. And there's still tendencies in here that comes up sometimes, and there are still triggers happening, and there are still thinking happening. It's not that that is like the mind is going to go quiet forever. The mind is quiet quite often and for quite long periods of time. But for me, I think it's this sort of unraveling, unbinding process still happening. There's been a lot of stuff being seen, a lot of identity, a lot of beliefs, a lot of stored trauma, a lot of stored emotions in the character, in Kimmen, that I previously was identified with, that is being cleared out, and it's been cleared out over the last couple of years. And it has settled a little bit now, which it feels really good, to be honest. But that is still happening, and things are still sort of unfolding here, of course. It's not that we arrive anywhere, but we sort of get used to that sort of unfolding. We get used to that sort of, it's almost like the sense of falling, like, you know, going over a speed bump and you have that sort of feeling of the stomach dropping. I think a really good thing to get used to is that feeling, because that's literally the physical sensation that we will have when identity and beliefs and deep trauma and nervous system regulation happens. It can feel very disorienting and very destabilizing for quite a while and quite some time. But if we learn to surrender, if we learn to stay sort of open in this field instead of being the character, like I said, if we learn to stay open, it's not a problem. It's only a problem if we identify with the person thinking, this shouldn't be here, this shouldn't happen. So yeah, and it is possible for anyone to recognize this. It's nothing special. It is special from the perspective of the person, because the person is struggling and suffering so much. But it's not special from this everythingness, from the spaciousness, because we realize, oh, this is how I operated as a child. This is what I was born into, and this is who I've always been, even before the character. Even in the womb, this is what I was, the everything. So that's how I would describe that. Did Kimmen wake up? No, he didn't. Awareness woke up from the belief that it was this separate character named Kimmen. And Kimmen didn't have to disappear. He just had to be observed enough to realize that, oh, what can be observed is not who I am. And so there needs to be something that is aware of Kimmen. So let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching the entire video if you did. And if you have any advice, if you have any questions, if you want me to record a specific video, please write in the comments. I love reading the comments, and I reply to the ones I feel interesting, of course. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.